Hi, it is Friday the 24th of April 2020 and this is the astrology as we go through the weekend. We're going to talk about what's coming up. At this moment the moon is in Taurus and that stays the case until tomorrow when the moon is going to enter Gemini. That's going to be 12:20 a.m. just into the day on the Pacific coast, the west side of the States and Canada. East side 3:20 a.m. and 8:20 a.m. here in UK. So we're really starting our day with it wherever we are in the world, really. Okay, now the Gemini influence is much more outgoing, much more kind of reaching out and being with others. It's that twin thing, gets us wanting to twin our energies with each other. And that actually kicks in tomorrow, Saturday. So we're moving towards that now. That's the applying thing, as it were. But just as the weekend kicks off here on Friday, Taurus moon, patience, diligence, perseverance, that kind of thing. You may actually want to take a rest as well. Taurus isn't all about forcing things to get done. Sometimes we need a rest, and sometimes that is the best way of actually getting things to happen. The moon right now, as I speak, is 1.5% full. Now, if you wanted to if you wanted to launch something, a new project or a new plan or just a new way of being, whatever, we're all about transformation, transmutation in these spiritual practices. If you wanted to launch something like that, I would wait till maybe Sunday, maybe even Monday, because although we're on a new moon and it is all new energy, the moon is very low in the sky at the moment, and it's better to wait until we can see her fairly clearly in the night sky before the influence is strong enough to do that. So if I was going to launch a new thing, I think I'd actually be looking at Tuesday, Wednesday. When do we actually come up to first quarter? When first quarter is actually over, that is the 30th of April. So just check my book here. I should have done this already. That's not until next Thursday, actually. Well, you don't have to wait for first quarter, but you do want the moon to be reasonably fulsome before you launch anything. But a great time for planning things, particularly as the moon is about to enter Gemini, and that is a good time for really planning and thinking about, dare I say it, maybe even meditating on what you want to do going forward. Okay, so this is just where we are on Friday, but it's significant because it's where the weekend kicks off. Sun is conjunct Uranus, innovation, progress, quick thinking, and being willing to accept new conditions. That's really kind of strongly favoured at the moment. So it's a real good time for planning things, it really is. But we might see upsets, we might see sudden things coming up, cropping up, upsetting things possibly, but radical things, controversial things, people proposing things that make you think, what? And, you know, that is also really good to have in the planning process, because you want to take account of things like that. Life is change, and even if you've got everything kind of lined up the way you want it, someone else might come in and change something. Moon herself, sextile Neptune at the moment, so it's a sensitive time. It's a good time for intuition, and it's a real good time for insight. Not a bad time to get a reading, actually. 35and83@gmail.com for a reading, or message me through the Twig Brother Facebook page. Send me a direct message. I'm always at it. I'm always doing readings, and I'll be glad to do some today. It's a compassionate time, though, as well as that, so real nice conditions today. Mercury square Pluto, and Pluto is actually going to turn retrograde tomorrow. More about that in a second. Mercury square Pluto, things could be quite challenging, really. People are announcing agendas for change. It's really not until the moon has grown a bit that change can start happening really positively and really proactively. But those agendas for change are actually beginning to come up. Venus square Neptune, strange feelings, strange emotions, maybe people resigning from things, maybe people kind of retreating, stepping back a bit. Well, that's actually been the case for the last few days. That isn't anything new. But, you know, anything around love, anything around money could be a bit tricky at the moment. Things tend to be feelings based as people actually act on things. So not the most straightforward, not the most conventional time, but who wants things to be conventional? Hey, I don't. Now then, let me just take a look into my book here. I had this a second ago, I've lost it. Pluto is going retrograde. Now, she is actually going to be retrograde from tomorrow right through until the 4th of October 2020. So it's setting the scene for quite a while, this Pluto retrograde. And Pluto tends to bring a fair bit of confusion into things, yeah? And actually tomorrow, Saturday the 25th, when the moon enters Gemini, we're also going to see Mercury square Pluto, and Mercury is in Aries at the moment, so although Mercury can be quite confusing around communications, it's going to be kind of really pushing the energy of whatever comes. But I'm not saying mistrust anything, but evaluate things carefully. Anything around communication, if you get a message that you don't like the sound of, if things aren't looking good, just kind of keep it as real as you can, most particularly tomorrow actually, because Pluto is in Capricorn, so Pluto's hanging on tight. And Pluto is a planet that when it's retrograde is more like Pluto than ever before. Mercury kind of goes the opposite way in retrograde, but Pluto retrogrades just make it really more Pluto-ish. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of confusion around, most particularly in communications tomorrow, and that, I feel, friends, is the way things are going to go pretty much through the Pluto retrograde. On Sunday the 26th, Mercury square Jupiter. So Mercury kind of moves on a bit. Mercury's still in Aries. Jupiter actually in Capricorn as well. So that is really going to make quite a difference. And quite a positive difference if you really want to get things done, actually. Because there's that Capricorn tenacity, that Capricorn wanting to hang on. And Mercury being in Aries, it's the Ram energy. So that's what it's looking like this weekend, folks. The plan is I'll be back on Sunday with a look at the week ahead. I never quite know how that's going to go because my internet connection is terrible. Thanks everyone who took part in the Spirit Door Crystal Ball video the other night, by the way. I'm sorry if I missed anybody. We don't always kind of manage to get messages for everyone we'd like to give messages to because the energy somehow limits itself, but it was a great session. I enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back on Facebook with more readings as we go through the weekend. I'll say it again, 35and83@gmail.com. If you would like a reading, 35and83@gmail.com. A very small fee is involved. I've got to live, but we've all got to live, and that's what it's all about. So have a fantastic weekend, friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Peace.